another guy in this draft class, Medina High School and Penn State quarterback Drew Allar. It's a name that's getting more and more connected with the Browns a little bit later rounds. Allar was asked what separates him as quarterback.
I would say mentally, first thing, my ability to process information. Our offense at Penn State, they put a lot on me in terms of the verbiage of our play calls and responsibilities pre-snap and post-snap. So, I feel like I've been really well prepared for that aspect because obviously the NFL, they're going to put a lot on the quarterbacks mentally with the, pre-snap operation and everything like that. And, physically, I have a lot of trust and ability in my arm talent, and I've been working, relentlessly to get as consistent as I can and just find different ways to get better. I'm sure most of you know I've only been really playing quarterback since my freshman year of high school, so I feel like every year that I've played the position of quarterback, I've taken a step, and this off season is no different, even though, it looks a little bit different than I envisioned coming off of injury and that sort of thing, but I feel like, I've made steady progress throughout my whole career playing quarterback.
Chris, guy that is, he grew up a Browns fan. You talked about that at the Combine as well. I know you wrote an article. Take us through the article you wrote on Allar.
I wrote a couple of them. One just, I think the big first question, the one I wrote immediately after he spoke was, just a question about, you came into that season at Penn State, his last year at Penn State, looking to quiet some of the critics, and instead they've only gotten louder, and then you suffer this injury that ends your season, so it just adds another layer of questions for you to have to answer. And I think I think that first off, trying to quiet the critics, going out there and doing what he can to do that would go far to answer some of the other questions. Showing that he worked hard to get back to, to playing for him after this ankle injury, to all of that. I think that would be a big check on his side. Now, then he has to go out and, the play has to, has to also support, kind of the hype he had coming into the 2025 season. But then, I wrote a second one. He talked about his first jersey were Joe Thomas, naturally, for a Browns fan around that time, and then Charlie Fry, which I found, which I, kind of amusing. But then he talked about Charlie Fry then was the first coach to offer him a scholarship while Charlie was at Central Michigan. And then after that, he gets to Penn State, and who's an analyst on James Franklin's staff at Penn State? Charlie Fry. So, but it would be another kind of full circle moment for Drew if he were to, end up getting drafted by the Browns. But we'll see. I don't know. I mean, like I say, there's a lot of options there, and there's also a lot of, we'll see what they do in free agency. There's a lot of time for all these quarterbacks to kind of move up and down and move all over the place on a board, depending on what they do at pro days and individual meetings and that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's a guy I've had a chance to see a lot in high school, and the arm is unbelievable. I mean, he can throw it. I saw Joe Burrow play as a senior in Athens. I saw Mitch Trubisky play a lot at Mentor. Drew Allar has more physical ability, but he never put everything together at Penn State. It was always kind of a head scratcher.
Right, and part of that is, I'll be honest, is it James Franklin's program? Is it, what is it? Because Penn State never just seems to develop wide receivers, or at least they never seem to play well at Penn State, and then they get in the league and they're or they go other places and they're amazing. So we'll see. I mean, is it just untapped talent that somehow, some way, where I don't know, it was being held back by his coaching at Penn State? Who knows? But it's certainly a legitimate question that he's going to have to answer.
Yeah, without question. There are throws. He was making throws in high school that were NFL type throws. So we'll see.